Gareth, congratulations on The Creator.
Thank you, thanks.
I got to check it out last week. I'm checking it out again tonight.
Okay, good.
Really enjoyed it. I'm so excited for everybody else to see it and freak out about it.
Oh no, in a good way, right?
In the best way, in the best of ways.
Okay. I was like, okay, cool.
I kind of wanted to start off though, because obviously you have a lot of experience with sci-fi in kind of tackling different genres through the lens of sci-fi. Most recently, before this, in a galaxy far, far away. So I was curious, going into The Creator, what lessons did you bring from your experiences and stuff like Rogue One?
There's a million lessons you learn from doing any movie, especially a Star Wars movie. I think lots and lots of things. One of the things that I really was happy with in Rogue One was that when we went to real locations for a handful of times, so we went to the Maldives, which was really difficult, obviously, shooting there. Went to Wadi Rum in Jordan, and we actually filmed in a train station in London, and then digitally changed it in the computer afterwards. And normally on a big movie, you get a handful of times you're allowed to leave the studio, and everything else is kind of green screen and things. And so I was like, I want to make a film where every single scene is like a real location as much as possible. And so essentially managed to talk the studio into making this film where we shot in 8 different countries. We went to 80 different locations, traveled 10,000 miles, went to the Himalayas, Indonesia. It was just an excuse for a holiday, basically.
You needed to make your own Eat, Pray, Love and just Eat, Pray film. And it shows in the film. The film is absolutely gorgeous looking, by the way. Genuinely congrats on just the visuals of it alone.
No, thank you.
I did also want to talk, because there's so much world building in this film. Not only are we seeing your interpretation of future America, future army, future the way Western society grows, but also Eastern society, Eastern cities, Eastern spirituality. What is your approach to world building on that kind of scale? How do you kind of approach building so many different, effectively, worlds and managing to still kind of keep the focus on the human characters and the robotic characters in it?
Well, yeah, I can't. I feel like I can't take credit for building the world, and it's like go to the world and make a film. And so by going to these real places, there's so much you get for free. There's so many amazing things. Initially, I was really concerned because we were doing the movie. We started the movie, and then the pandemic happened. And it was like, oh no, this is a disaster. And obviously, it was, in lots of ways. But when we finally got in to Thailand, we were the first people in. We were on that first plane that was allowed back in, and so there was no tourists around any of these places, and people weren't wearing masks, and so we managed to capture this real life that was so important, and then we did actually, the way we approached the movie, it was actually in reverse. Normally you design the world and you go, I want to get exactly that, and then that becomes really expensive because well, if you want that thing and that thing, and you move heaven and earth to get this, and it's it doesn't have to be exactly this, right? It's something like this. And so it was let's go shoot the movie, let's have all the happy accidents happen, let's see all these beautiful places, and then cut it together. And then when we finished, or halfway through editing, when we know what shots are in the movie, then we'll design the world. And so basically James Klein, who was the production designer, and a lot of the other concept artists, got these frames when we were in the edit, and would have to paint over, and we would sit and design stuff, and it would blend more seamlessly into what we had because it was riffing off all the foreground, if you know what I mean.
That's fascinating, because you mentioned that during the Q&A a few weeks ago as well, and that's what, looking back at 1950s animation, that's so clever.
Right.
And I think you're right, that does ground it and root it in the real world in a way that it's very hard for a tennis ball on the green screen to do sometimes. Speaking that Q&A as well, you also mentioned, I remember you talking about, you were so worried that Alfie was going to be the problem child, for a lack of a better term, in terms of the story.
Yeah.
Because child characters are very tricky. You need to get the right performer. And even just from a writing perspective, how did you kind of approach Alfie? When did you kind of know this is how we need to make it? We need to make it this precious, but not this precocious. What was that process like of kind of getting the Alfie down to a science?
Well, I remember when I was putting it all together, it was going quite well. We were casting the film, and every actor I was meeting with was really nice and really down to earth. And I remember saying to my girlfriend at the time, I can't quite believe how this is going. It's going really well, and then something's going to be a problem. I don't know what it is. There's always a problem. And she was like, you idiot, it's going to be the child, right? I don't know why you're making a movie with a kid in it. It's a nightmare. And I was like, oh my God, you're right, it is. And so I was really paranoid about it, and I wasn't going to make the film, you know, if we couldn't find the right kid. And I hate movies with kid actors in, and they can be quite annoying, and I didn't want to make that kind of movie. It was like, we have to find like someone really special. And Madeline came in, she was the first kid we auditioned in, a total fluke, and she did this perfect performance, and I thought it was a trick, and I thought her mum had told us some terrible news or story and it made us want to cry when she was doing this scene. And so I played with her a bit, and then I was like, hey, do you want to let's do something else, totally different. And tried like off the cuff, see if she could improvise. And she did something even better. And she left the room, and we were like, oh my God. And I just got paranoid the parents were going to go, oh, we didn't realize it was Thailand. We didn't realize it was 6 months away from home. And so but I really lucked out. I'd love to say it was my amazing direction, but she's just special.
Just pump fakes you the whole time.
Yeah.
I think I've got time for one last one, and then it's just, and I ask this for every production because I find the most interesting different answers for every single production, because when you set off on any project, you obviously have an idea. I think I know where this is going to go. I have an idea of how this is going to play out, especially as a writer and director. I've got to imagine you knew in your head what this was going to be, and that's never the case. That's never the final product, because you find something with the cast, something in the process. With that in mind, what would you say surprised you the most about the creator?
Hopefully nearly everything. And my goal when filming is you have a preconception of what the scene should look like, what it's going to be like. And if you actually get that, it's a little bit depressing, because you go, that's exactly what I was picturing. And it always gets really exciting when there's a curveball, when something you weren't planning happens, and you get this like happy accident. And so I'm always hunting for that. And so we would create sets where we could turn the camera 360 degrees, the crew were completely hidden, and shoot in these beautiful locations where the actors were given total freedom. And we would do 30-minute takes. So like whatever the preconception was, the actors would do something, and then I wouldn't say cut, we'd just reset and go again. And to start with, everyone had their version of the scene, and then that would just wear away. And then suddenly we'd start the scene again, and someone who was stood up was now sat down, and things like that. And it would throw everyone for a loop. And then suddenly these really interesting things would happen that are not what you were thinking. And when you get something that's inspired by something you were thinking, but not the same, then it becomes like new. And it's your goal as a filmmaker to just bank as many of these new things as possible, because then people, you take credit for it at the end, because people go, oh my God, where'd you get all these ideas from? And you're like, no, I'll say I had them, but actually these were just random things that went wrong on the shoot, you know?
The muses. Gareth, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. Honestly, a big fan of your work, so this was exciting in general.
Thank you.
But congratulations on the creator.
Thank you so much.